This is Janet. She works as a medical technology assistant in an HLA lab at a big hospital and has noticed that her productivity is dwindling and she's feeling stressed. Her boss isn't happy about the current situation either. Her problem is that she is having to work increasingly long hours because she can hardly cope with the workload anymore. Janet has to carry out a lot of HLA typings in the lab. This involves numerous pipetting stages, which can take a long time, and she has to concentrate very hard to avoid making mistakes. She often has to do too many things at once. Sometimes Janet even has to work with toxic substances. Analyzing the data is also a painstaking process, which requires considerable time and patience. When she's working night shifts at the hospital, she's always on her own and also very tired. That means she has to consider each step very carefully to avoid making mistakes. Janet has been wondering how to overcome this problem for quite some time. She complains about it to her colleague John, who also works in an HLA lab. He is familiar with the problem and tells her that he is now working with a fully automated SSO system from BAG Healthcare. Our aim was to develop a faster, simpler and more flexible method for performing HLA typing. The result is MrSpot. The DNA sample is first amplified in a locus-specific PCR with biotinylated primers, for the gene HLA-A, for example. The resulting amplicon is then placed in a test well for hybridization. The bottom of the test well contains probes matching the amplified gene. One HLA test with up to 225 probes is performed in each test well. If the sequence of the amplicon is complementary to the sequence of a probe, hybridization will occur. The conjugate can then bond and trigger a color reaction in this position. The resulting pattern of positive probes is interpreted as HLA genotype. First of all, you create a work list in the HistoMatch software. This specifies which tests are to be carried out on which samples. Then you send the work list to the MrSpot processor and print a work list setup report. In accordance with the work list, you set up the locus-specific PCR reaction from master mix, magnesium chloride, and sample DNA. Now you have to prepare and start the MrSpot processor. To do this, simply follow the instructions on the touchscreen. Place the amplicons in the sample block and put the required SSO test wells into the reaction plate holder. Then fill the reagents into the trough. Now you can start the run. On completion, the internal camera takes a photo of each test well and saves it to the work list for subsequent analysis. When the SSO run on the MrSpot processor is completed, the results are imported into the HistoMatch software. The software analyzes the images and interprets them automatically. The results can now be checked on the user-friendly screen and edited if necessary. Finally, you can choose one of the various different report formats for documenting your results. It's simple and fast. The HistoSpot SSO system with the MrSpot processor has the following advantages for your workflow. After the PCR, the system is fully automated, which means no manual pipetting stages are required and the risk of error is minimal. It's flexible. You can carry out between 1 and 96 tests per run. It's fast. You can obtain a result in as little as 3 hours. It's simple, because it's a plug-and-play instrument with ready-to-use reagents and automated interpretation. HistoSpot SSO has been specially designed to simplify your workflow. Janet is delighted with the new solution and has also convinced her boss of the benefits. She now feels much more relaxed at the lab, and her productivity has increased significantly because she now enjoys her work again. Janet can do her paperwork without feeling under pressure, and she even finds time for a nice cup of coffee while MrSpot is working for her. The team from BAG installs the instrument for you and is happy to help with any questions regarding the technology or interpretation. BAG Healthcare. For further information, go to bag-healthcare.com.